A truck sits in a driveway with the engine off, but the man behind the wheel hasn't moved in 4 minutes. The porch light is on. Somewhere inside, a teenager is doing homework at the kitchen table, headphones in, waiting for nobody. He isn't stalling because he's tired. He's stalling because somewhere between the office and this driveway, he built a sentence. Something like, "I know I'm hard to talk to. I want that to be different." He said it out loud once, to the steering wheel. It sounded like someone else's father, not his. So he turns off the headlights, picks up his bag, and walks inside, saying nothing but, "Hey." And the sentence stays behind in the truck, parked, engine cold, waiting for a night that keeps not arriving. Multiply that driveway by millions across 3 decades. The words were never missing. They just never left the vehicle. There's a particular quiet in houses built by people born in the 1960s and 70s. Not an unhappy quiet, a practiced one. The kind that comes from being told, without anyone saying it, that needing people out loud was a flaw. This isn't a story about bad parents. It's about a generation that inherited a silence and had to decide what to do with it. Picture a house key on a shoelace, tucked under a school shirt. For a whole generation of kids growing up through the 70s and 80s, that key was practically a rite of passage. Both parents working, no one home until 6. A phone that, more often than not, just sat there, not ringing. Sociologists call this the latchkey experience. It taught an early, unspoken lesson. You handle things yourself. That asking for help is a last resort. That the safest emotion to show anyone is none at all. Nobody sat these kids down and taught them this. The empty house did the teaching. Here's what happens next, when the kid with the key becomes the parent standing at the stove. Children don't just learn from what parents tell them. They learn from what parents visibly avoid. The subject that gets changed. The joke that arrives right when a real feeling was about to surface. The hug that turns into a shoulder pat halfway through. A child just needs to watch the flinch once and file it away forever. The man in the truck is quiet the way his father was quiet. A chain of driveways stretching back further than anyone has mapped out loud. Listen to how this generation talks about hardship. It rarely sounds like grief. It sounds like grit. "We didn't have any of this growing up. You kids have it so easy." These sound like complaints, but underneath, they're confessions wearing work boots. What's really being said is, "I was on my own a lot, and I never learned how to talk about that." The complaint is armor. "It made me strong" is easier to live inside than "it made me alone." Here's the part rarely said out loud. Some of the loneliest people in any given house are the parents who built it themselves. They gave their kids everything they didn't have, and in doing so, many ran out of practice at asking for anything back. That loneliness shows up as an extra hour at the gym nobody questions. A second glass of wine that becomes a nightly appointment nobody names. Kids sense the shape of this before they can name it. Homes that are warm and provided for, and somehow, quietly, hollow. But something else has been happening too. Some of those kids, now parents themselves, say the sentence. Clumsily, awkwardly, sometimes through tears in a parked car of their own. "I love you. I'm figuring this out as I go." Nobody hands you fluency in a language you were never taught, but they say it anyway because they watched someone almost say it. That decision might be the quietest form of courage this generation produces. Back to the driveway. Months have passed. A different night, a different porch light. But the same man, standing in a parking lot after his daughter's graduation, in front of family friends, with absolutely no plan. The sentence comes out anyway, half-formed, interrupted by his own throat closing up. His daughter, who has spent her whole life reading silence fluently, understands every unfinished word of it. Maybe that's the real inheritance. Not the perfect sentence, because it never arrives perfect. What gets passed down is the trying, the driveway, the parked truck, the hand on the door handle, and the choice, every time, to open it anyway.